I'm writing a novel about a puppy bought as a Christmas present, and while I continue researching for it, I keep coming across the exact same pattern, just with different animals and different holidays. In this video, I'd like to highlight an example of this behaviour that is especially relevant around this time of year as of making this video, namely the impulse purchase of rabbits for Easter, or the Easter bunnies. People buy rabbits for themselves or for their children at Easter because, of course, the Easter bunny is a long-standing mascot of the holiday. The novelty of having a cute, fluffy little rabbit or rabbit kit around may seem wonderful and exciting for the first day, or week, or even month, but as the reality sets in around what is actually necessary to look after a rabbit, the interest and commitment and, unfortunately, sometimes even love fades. Now, I can and I will go through all the numbers and statistics for this, but the whole reason I'm writing emotionally hard fiction in these areas is because these often create a distance between the numbers and the reality. So instead, let's begin by looking at the experience for an Easter bunny. Firstly, rabbits are perhaps the quintessential prey animal. If you were asked to name a prey animal, you'd probably say a rabbit. Their entire nervous system is designed to detect threats. So when a young kit, or even an older rabbit, are placed into a pet shop environment, surrounded by bright lights, the smell of cleaning materials, being picked up and fondled by strangers, as well as, perhaps more so in the US than the UK, being sold alongside predator species within a short distance. This is one hell of a stressful environment, both emotionally and physiologically. A rabbit's distress is almost entirely invisible to us. They don't yelp or whimper, they freeze. And we mistake that silence for calm. Then some stranger comes along, picks them up, places them into a box and carries them home in a noisy, unfamiliar car. Or walk them home with dogs barking, traffic passing by and all sorts of smells and shapes around them. This rabbit is frightened. We just can't see it. This is part and parcel of buying a rabbit as a pet, and despite their initial discomfort, given time to adjust, they'll be absolutely fine. There really isn't much we can do to improve the situation other than try to improve their habitation while in the store and reduce their stress just as much as possible. Then they get to their new home. Rabbits are highly territorial and form intense bonds with not only the companions in their lives, but also specific places. For the first few days, or even weeks, a rabbit will gradually gain a sense of trust as they develop these bonds, and will eventually settle into their new home happily. However, until then, the adjustment period can be tough. Again, new smells, bright lights, unfamiliar environments, being picked up and fussed by strangers, and especially young children who likely don't have that sense of being gentle. Because to a rabbit, being lifted up likely invokes that deep-held association to being caught by a predator. However, given time, the bonds develop and the rabbit relaxes into their happy new life. But if in those first few days or weeks the rabbit is so frightened that it bites to defend itself, chews wires and carpets, because it's a rabbit, sprays urine or gets on people's nerves by constant thumping, which is an acute stress response, people may very quickly regret their impulse decision to buy their Easter bunny and decide to give them up. If this is within the first few days and the rabbit is still adjusting, perhaps still a baby, this essentially leads to a continued cycle for it. Again put into a box by these scary strangers it doesn't know, carried in a noisy car to the rescue, taken by another unknown person with even more unfamiliar smells and surroundings, placed into a small cage, perhaps with other rabbits it doesn't know, until it's rehomed. This means another stranger, more lifting, more carrying, etc., until, hopefully, this time, the adjustment is able to take place fully. However, most often, it's a little later on, once the rabbit has reached adolescence, a few months down the line, that the person decides to surrender them to a rescue. At this point, the rabbit has reached sexual maturity. Bucks spray urine all over the place. Does become aggressively territorial, sometimes even experiencing false pregnancies that intensify that drive. The cute, quiet bunny from a few months ago has now become a a very different creature, because the baby became an adult. He or she now feels safe. They've made bonds with you and everyone else. They're comfortable in their space and have now become territorially protective of it, as well as their toys, little hut, food bowl and whatever else. They have a routine and are living a happy, normal little bunny life. But because the person doesn't like, and perhaps wasn't prepared for this change, now suddenly it's in yet another box, torn away from everything and everyone it has grown to love and feel secure around. Everything it has been bonded with. Their stress is now through the roof. The literature shows that bonded rabbits show visible signs of distress when separated from familiar environments and companions. It has finally overcome its unease from the relocation as a kit, and has become settled. And now, it's all been stripped away. So, that rabbit we just described and that experience is exactly what's happening to tens of thousands of rabbits every year in the UK alone. The Rabbit Welfare Association and Fund estimates that up to 100,000 rabbits per year enter UK rescues, which it considers the worst crisis ever. During the Easter season, rabbits purchased in April are often given up to rescues within a few days of purchase. Or, as Peter UK put it, discarded like unwanted Easter egg packaging. However, the largest intake of rabbits into these sanctuaries, as reported by the Blackberry Farm Animal Sanctuary in Oxfordshire, and confirmed by a 2024 Canadian study of RSPCA data, occurs in the month immediately following Easter, May. By the summer, the rescue's hutches overflow completely, once the Easter bunnies have hit puberty and begun to spray, bite and chew. And unfortunately, this pattern only seems to be increasing as the years go by. 672 rabbits entered RSPCA national centres in 2020. By 2022, that number had risen 48% to 1,090. And that's only counting RSPCA national centres, not the thousands of others handled elsewhere. Looking on a broader scale amongst UK nationwide rescues, a 2012 RWAF rescue survey estimated that around 67,000 rabbits enter UK rescues annually, an increase of almost 92% compared to the previous decade. Unfortunately, there's been no follow-up to this survey, but if the same rate of increase has continued, we can expect the numbers now to be even higher. But of course, we don't know, because nobody's counted. And to be honest, it's little wonder. The PDSA PAW PWA report, the UK's most robust annual survey on pet welfare, has consistently found that 24%, or 5.2 million pet owners in the UK, undertake absolutely no research whatsoever before acquiring a pet. In addition, only 5% consult veterinary professionals for advice, and over half end up underestimating the minimum monthly cost involved. Now, on a more positive note, there is indeed a law in place to help prevent the excessive impulse purchase of pets. Lucy's Law, which came into effect on the 6th of April 2020, bans commercial third-party sales of puppies and kittens under 6 months of age, and only allows buyers to purchase them directly from either licensed breeders or rescue centres, whilst being able to see the animal with its mother. The law was hugely supported by the public and had a huge 95% support rate. The problem is, Lucy's Law doesn't apply to rabbits, or any other animal. Nor does the Statutory Welfare Code of Practice in England. Rabbits aren't required to be microchipped, and in my opinion the most egregious, rabbits, among other animals, aren't mentioned whatsoever in the Pet Abduction Act of 2024. This act, for the first time, recognised dogs and cats as individual, sentient beings, not just property. If someone steals your dog or your cat, that is now a specific criminal offence, with up to 5 years in prison. If someone takes your rabbit, or your rat, or your ferret, or your hamster, or whatever, it's treated in exactly the same way as if someone took your bicycle. The RSPCA have stated there's a significant gap between the legal protections afforded to rabbits and those given to other pets. This disparity reflects outdated perceptions and leaves rabbits vulnerable to neglect and mistreatment, and have reported that between 2018 and 2024, over 30,000 advertisers posted nearly 117,000 rabbit sale listings online, totaling an estimated 350,000 rabbits for sale, with virtually no regulatory oversight. This, naturally, all adds to the ease of which rabbits can be purchased impulsively during festive seasons and then discarded. because there's no UK legislation banning the purchase of animals as gifts for Christmas or Easter or birthdays or any other time. Thankfully, some organisations have taken the initiative to help lower these figures. Pets at Home, very commendably, pause all rabbit sales across their 460 UK stores over the Easter weekend, with signs stating we pride ourselves on putting pets before profits. And both Gumtree and Preloved suspended all baby rabbit advertisements over Easter in that year also. However, these are optional industry choices, not legal requirements. And unfortunately, the Animal Welfare Bill for kept animals, which could have very easily provided a pathway for better regulation, was scrapped in May 2023. I started researching this because my debut novel is about a puppy bought as a Christmas present. So I expected to find quite a sad pattern that I already knew about. What I found instead was a pattern that I'd never once thought about. And I'm someone who thinks about this a lot. So if I missed it, it makes me wonder how many others have missed it too.